Welcome back to the Concussion Protocol Podcast. My name is Connor. With me, as always, are Chance and Chase. It is very, very close to kickoff, everybody, and we could not be more pumped. The drama is piling up. The decisions are being made. Transfers are still coming in all over the country. I didn't even know it was possible to be doing things this late, but this is the wild, wild west of football, and we are here to talk all about it. Speaking of the wild, wild west, we are going deep on the Midwest, the Big Ten Conference tonight, everybody. This is going to be a fun episode. We have the defending national champs and currently preseason number 6 ranked Indiana. We've got the current number 1 and preseason and pretty much number 1 basically all of last year, Ohio State, who had an amazing fall from grace, along with it's weird to refer to them as a plucky upstart, but that's kind of the chip on their shoulder that USC is trying to play with right now, as well as the always just so close to greatness, but always so far Oregon Ducks, and so much more to get into. But this is the Big Ten, the conference that has run college football for the last 3 years. It's going to be a fun one to watch. We're going to get into all the drama, the debate about the top heaviness, at least perception of this conference. But first and foremost, let's talk about some dark horse candidates. Is there anybody, Chance, that jumps off the page to you as someone that we are overlooking, or that most people are overlooking in the Big Ten Conference this year?
Oh, yeah. And I'm going to talk about them a lot this episode, and you guys are going to drill me on it.
Go for it. Let's hear it. Who you got?
It's Michigan.
You think
The
they're going
Wolverines? Yeah, I think so. I am really high on those guys this year.
Yeah. What are you seeing them?
I think people are overlooking just the impact of coaching changes, the transfers that are coming in and everything. I think that, honestly, in my opinion, again, you're going to hate this, Connor.
I'm already hating it, but I'm letting you talk.
Okay, perfect. You can drill me later, I guess. And I know you will. I think that their coaching staff might be the best or one of the best in the country, from head coach to coordinators and everything. I really do. No, I honestly, it's not even trying to be biased.
This dude is the biggest non-fan of Utah ever, dude. Like, how are you cheering
one of their coordinators is from BYU.
And like, you're literally saying
the other ones played at BYU.
The best
Who's
coaching?
The head coach?
He played at BYU.
Oh my gosh,
dude.
I did not enjoy him thrashing my team for 10 years in a row. But you got to admit, he built up a program that did not have the amount of money that Michigan does. Or the talent.
Urban Meyer built it up. Now, granted, he kept it going for 20 years. I'll give you that much. But Urban Meyer took them to prominence.
1 year. He had a really good 1 year, but he had 1 year. And everywhere that guy goes, the program gets destroyed immediately after he leaves. I mean, have you seen Florida? Have you seen Utah?
Have you seen Ohio State?
Well, I mean, Ohio State, it's really hard to ruin that one, apparently. But, I mean, kind of.
Okay, go. Finish your point, my friend.
If you look even at their transfer portal, I mean, I really like a lot of guys. Now, they lost a lot of talent, too. So there's no foregoing that. But, I mean, if John Henry Daly, for example, who is injured, he had a really bad injury and he wasn't expected to play that much this year. But if reports are true that are coming out that he's going to be ready for the beginning of the year, that guy led the nation in sacks last year. You got Smith Snowden that came in. I mean, they're juicing up that defense. And then on offense, Jason Beck, I mean, the things that he did at Utah were really good. And he's going to have a very similar situation in Michigan. So, I mean, it's all going to depend on Bryce Underwood, if he learned how to throw a deep ball, if he learned how to throw a forward pass. If he did, though, I mean, they've got all the talent in the world that they can make something happen. So they're my dark horse. But that's kind of the big if, is the offense, and if Bryce Underwood figured it out. But I mean, I don't expect it to be exactly the same Michigan football. And then I also think that taking away some of the distractions that have been there the past couple of years and all of the controversy with head coaches and the different violations, since they're, I would hope, clean, and I would think so with this coaching staff and this team, they might perform a little bit better.
Chase, do you have any rebuttals to that, or we're just going to let him
Yeah, I mean, I don't see Michigan, like winning the conference. I don't see them winning a championship, but they are definitely in the conversation. If there was 3 teams that I'm picking as dark horse teams in the conference, because I mean, you can't pick Indiana, Ohio State, or Oregon for dark horse teams because they're always in the conversation, right? But if I'm picking a team, it's Michigan's at the top of that list. Then I'd probably just put Iowa in because their schedule's not too rough. They got Michigan and Ohio State on there that are rough, but they avoid Indiana, they avoid Oregon, they avoid USC. So I would put Iowa in there, and then I'd put USC in there. So and USC is ranked 14, so they're not exactly a dark horse team either. But since the last couple years, USC has not been involved whatsoever. I'm still considering them dark horse.
I think that's a fair assessment about USC. I think that it's just weird for us to call USC a dark horse because they were so dominant in so many ways for so long. But the reality of the situation is that they have not, in spite of having a fairly recent Heisman candidate, they have not produced the victories that matter on the field. They've always been USC being able to. Did you hear me do that on purpose? But they really haven't. They've won a lot of games, but and I guess, but their last like major that at least that comes to my mind, major like program defining win was against Saquon Barkley in Penn State, and which is almost 10 years ago, if not 10 years ago now. I mean, yeah, they would run the regular season in the Pac-12 sometimes, but then they would lose in the conference championship. They still have never made it to the playoff, in spite of having a Heisman caliber quarterback. It just hasn't materialized. And USC, in my mind, is a little bit similar issue, like with as I always had with Utah under Kyle Whittingham, where you can put up all the best stats that you want, but for some reason they can't close it out. So I don't think it's inappropriate to call either of them a dark horse. I think that USC has a much stronger argument than Michigan right now, and that pains me because I kind of feel for Michigan. You're rarely going to hear me saying negative things about Michigan. I've always thought that they didn't get the best rap, and anybody that can make Ohio State that mad is someone that I like. But I've expressed my thoughts on Kyle Whittingham many times on this program, and I don't see why things would be any different just because he basically transplanted all the things that weren't working at Utah up to a slightly, or I guess a bigger budget. But
yeah, that's the difference. You get like $30 million more.
Sure, $30 million more to do nothing with. This isn't Lane Kiffin with $30 million more. This is Kyle Whittingham with $30 million more.
The funny thing is, you were saying USC and then comparing it to Kyle Whittingham that they don't do anything. Do you not remember that the reason why USC didn't make all these conference championships or win them is because Utah beat them?
Yeah, and then what did Utah do every single time?
Or not BCS Bowls.
This is my point, though. What did Utah do every single time they got on the national stage? When they went in as number 7 in the country to unranked Florida, and they couldn't get it done. They also never made it to the playoff, in spite of having
there was no playoff, but they made a BCS Bowl.
What do you mean a BCS
Bowl? They made Rose Bowls.
Yeah, and didn't win them. So I'm just saying they couldn't close it out in spite of all the years of outstanding, and then sometimes during the regular season, then they would, and so they would just blow it. I mean, and that's standard Pac-12, I guess, but it was. I don't see the trends changing just because you throw more money at the situation. And when we get to the SEC episode, Chase, I'll have some words for Lane Kiffin. But
you just gave him the nod. I'm just going to reference this episode when we get to that one. But as long as Whittingham continues playing Dream Crusher like he did in the Pac-12 days against Oregon and USC, as long as he does that to his now rival team, I'm happy with him. Hey,
if that is the ceiling that he rises to, God bless him, Godspeed, and go blue. I would genuinely agree with all of your other takes as far as the dark horse stuff, though. All joking aside, if I had to pick two, I don't know. I am not willing to put any stock in Penn State right now to be a dark horse. I mean, hopefully they would bounce back, but the fact that they're ranked is an abomination to me right now. But And then Illinois is always going to be, Illinois is like the Missouri of the Big Ten. Like, they're always good, but they're never really going to be great, in spite of they should have a lot more funding. So for some reason, there seems to be hype in the ether about Northwestern, but I have no earthly idea why. Iowa, similar thing. If I had to add one more to the list, it would probably be Iowa, because they're always right on the verge. The only thing they ever need is offense. So if for one freaking year they can figure out how to average more than 2.2 yards per play, then they will absolutely be a force to be reckoned with on a national scale in college football. But I haven't seen evidence that that's going to change. So a dark horse they remain until they do that. Now, this is probably the debate that we're all getting tired of in the world, but let's talk a little bit about the big dogs. This conference, for all of its flaws and drama, is most famous right now for being top heavy, and has been for years. There is an extreme case of wheat and chaff separating itself in this conference. Now, the conference is bigger these days, and so there's a little bit more stardom to go around, but they also absorb the negative. For every one good team they added, they appear to have added another negative team, so the disparity is just a larger sample size, which is a really fascinating trend. But who do you guys think is legit to, if you had to pick your Big Ten matchup in the conference championship based on how things look right now, who agrees with the current number one and number two? And who do you guys think that there's anybody who could crash that party? Chase, what do you think?
With the preseason poll, obviously, it's the preseason. You're just gonna get pretty normal rankings of the stronger teams from the past, right? They're just gonna stick to the blue blood teams like Ohio State and stuff. I think it's fair to put Ohio State up high. I wouldn't put them at one personally, but they definitely deserve to be in the top three for sure. My only thing is that their schedule is tough this year. And I mentioned that in a previous episode. Their schedule is the opposite of last year. Last year, they had a cakewalk to 12 wins. This year, they got probably one of the toughest schedules in the nation. So I don't see Ohio State making their Big Ten championship. They certainly can. They got the talent for it. I just think there's so many roadblocks in the way that if they just stumble a couple times, they're just going to miss their Big Ten bid. And if they stumble against Texas as well, I think they might get the same thing Texas got last year with being one of the first teams out with 3 losses. So for me, my conference matchup is going to be Indiana and USC. I think that USC, if they set the tone early with that Oregon game, they steal a game against Ohio State, they're in it. They can lose to Indiana, rematch them, don't matter. But they got to beat at least 2 of those teams. So I think they can make it. Indiana, I think, is in the driver's seat. Their schedule's a little easier than some of the other ones. Just got to see how this team looks with Kurt Cignetti at the helm. Obviously, he's amazing, but we just got to see what happens with Josh Hoover and what team he put together with all the people that left last year because they were like 26 years old. But
when they all started collecting their Social Security checks right after winning the national championship. Yeah. Well, Chance, to send the same question over to you, who do you think is going to be the real deal this year in the Big Ten?
Unlike years past, I think this is actually a really difficult question because if you look at the top teams, they actually play each other this year. So it's going to be exciting, but it's going to be really hard to really see, hey, is Oregon going to pick up all their wins or are they going to split? And I see a lot of teams splitting wins. And the one team that it seems like has got the easiest path to it is Indiana. Just because they don't play the other teams, which I don't know how they got away with that because it seems like they've gone away with that for a couple of years now. So not sure how they're doing that, but I think they have the easiest path and I think they'll make it. A team that, again, criticized me and maybe I deserve it. I'm maybe goggled on this, but I actually see if Michigan can beat Ohio State, I think they can make it. I think they lose to Oregon and they sweep the rest of it and they go 11-1.
So who's your conference matchup if you had to be bold?
Oregon, Indiana. No, I'm sorry, not Oregon. Michigan, Indiana.
Michigan, Indiana. Okay, so I guess we all see Indiana. I guess I didn't give mine yet, but I too like Indiana still. And
Connor, you didn't make that
for
clear.
better or worse,
Indiana?
I actually do. You know,
you
guys,
think that they're a
this has
good
been the
football team? Because
subject.
we didn't get that clear, really, last year especially. Or this
Yeah.
whole offseason.
I'm willing to take the hard line and say the uncomfortable thing, and I'm proud. I'm here. It is real. I'm here to claim my true self that I believe Indiana is a good football team.
It's
For the
crazy.
first time ever, I'm making it known
Wow.
on the internet.
I don't think I've ever heard that out of you.
No, but I for better or worse, I took this philosophy last year, and it bit me right at the end of the year so bad with Texas A&M. But until I see a flaw with them, I don't think that it stands to reason that I can bet against them. Now, the big flaw that I see right now is Josh Hoover, but if I had to be really nitpicky, I'd call that more a question mark than a flaw. We've seen what Josh Hoover could do when he's at his best. Are we going to consistently get him at his best? And Chance, I believe it was you who said it perfectly during the Big 12 episode that if anybody can bring it out of him, it's Cignetti. He's the new number one coach in the country in most people's opinion for multiple reasons. And until we see otherwise, I'm gonna keep rolling with them. Now, the other one, I like Oregon. I really, really do. I always want to believe in them, and I think that this year, I think that they have a better shot. I think that Dante Moore is utterly electric, and I think that last year, especially in the Big Ten, even the hype that he got was not enough. And I do believe in Dan Lanning as a coach that he is right on the cusp. And one of these days, Oregon just has to break through. And I see, if I'm gonna be forced to make a prediction right now, yeah, I'm gonna go Oregon versus Indiana in that conference championship. I don't see a lot of flaws with this team now. And go ahead, Ohio State. Tell us all exactly why you're gonna go 12-0 again this year, in spite of you guys actually having a pretty tough schedule. How just every door is gonna fall to you. Every single team is gonna bend the knee, in spite of you actually having to play people this year. I don't believe it. I think that you're going to go into Texas and lose in week 1 personally. And the only thing that would make me happy about Texas winning a game is if it's beating Ohio State. So we'll talk more about that in the SEC show. But
yeah,
I mean, so
I could definitely see the Oregon making it. I mean, a lot of people believe in Oregon this year. They think that they're so much better than the last couple of years, and maybe it's because Dante Moore is like a senior now. Is he a senior or is he a junior?
He's
I think
junior.
I want to say he's a senior.
Yeah, I think it's because he literally could have went to the NFL and chose not to. I think that's a big contributor to that. And they definitely got the talent. I mean, Oregon's been stockpiling talent the last few years, but my problem with them is that they always have that and then they always choke. So I don't know. I feel like they could go into USC on the road this year in week 4 and they're going to lose it. So, but I thought
that
they
would be very in character for Oregon.
Yeah,
and it would be a classic Pac-12 blunder.
Yeah. So that's just my feelings on Oregon. But quick thing before you transition, I just want to ask Chance real quick on the Michigan bit. So you think that Michigan is going to lose to Indiana, and then they're going to go on the road against Oregon and Ohio State and beat both of those teams?
No,
because both of those games are on the road.
I said that they were going to lose to Oregon.
So they're going to lose to Oregon and they're going to beat Indiana, or they're going to be a 2-loss team in the conference championship. They're going to beat Indiana.
That's going to be Indiana's only loss.
You got to run those numbers again.
They're going to beat Indiana. Oof, interesting. I mean, it
Indiana
is a home game.
and Michigan will be 11-1.
Very high on Michigan. Well, all of his favorite players and his favorite coach are now at Michigan. So
yeah, it's crazy. This dude is like a pseudo Utah fan. I swear.
Look,
I swear.
Here's the thing.
There's
Here's
one
the thing.
team that,
when you have a rivalry,
if there's one team
you know
Chance
them like the
likes
back of
more
your hand.
than Utah, that's Michigan.
Okay, remember last year, guys, when you guys were saying that Utah sucked and saying all that crap, and then what did they do to your favorite team, Connor?
Yeah, they
destroyed them, right? And they turned out to be a pretty good team. And it's not that I am just enamored by Utah or enamored by Kyle Whittingham. It's that I know those guys. I have to. It's part of my duty as a rival to know that team in and out. And they always get the disrespect that they don't deserve. And I know the players, like, for example, Smith Snowden is one of the fastest cornerbacks that you'll find in the country. You need a guy like that to keep up with the Jeremiah Smith, right? John Henry Daly, right? If he comes back, you need a guy who's going to blow past Ohio State's offensive line, which is kind of their weakest point, right? And put pressure on a quarterback who was really good last year, but we're still kind of iffy on. Like, was he good because of just his offense, right? Because he had one of the best tight ends in the country, because he had two of the best wide receivers in the country, right? So if you put pressure on those, if you have those guys that are really not being looked at, but are that caliber, that's what I'm saying. And
these
you can
are
say
all
what you want, but
these are all strong.
people are underrating
like-
some of those players that they've got. Plus, they've got the standard Michigan players that already were there. I expect a jump up from Bryce Underwood. I think Jason Beck, if anybody can coach a quarterback like that, he's already proven that 2 years with Devin Dampier.
None of that is unfair. I would just argue it is unlikely. I think it is more unlikely than you're saying it would be. But
that's fine. And the beautiful thing is we find out on the football
best
field.
Case scenario for this team, the best case scenario. And should that happen, then sure, you'll have been right about everything, and we will be so furious with you for doing the impossible 2 years in a row, just like you did with Duke, for calling Michigan being this strong again. But I think that's all Chase and I are saying, is that would take a serious amount of stars aligning to get that much production out of something where yes, he is a turnover that involved basically a transplant rather than an entire regime change, but it is still a regime change ultimately. So I just think you're being a little bit over optimistic, but again, it would be very nice to see Michigan be good again, in my opinion, especially because that would inherently mean the Buckeyes drop. So yeah, I hope so, and I always appreciate your analysis being as thoughtful as it is optimistic in many cases. So yeah, we'll see. I will be the first one to admit I was wrong if the blue becomes big again. So, but moving on, speaking of regime changes, let's take a second to talk about the coaches that might be feeling the heat a little bit. I kind of feel like a lot of the coaches are fairly safe in this conference, at least among the big dogs. I think Dan Lanning Dan Lanning has enough social credit built up with Oregon that, I mean, if my team was winning 11 to 12 games every single year, it's going to take a lot of disappointment, because I feel like Oregon isn't as spoiled by national championships and Heismans as some of the SEC teams are. That we'll get to the coaching hot seat because it's a completely different story in the SEC. But I feel like the seat is never cool in the SEC unless you're Kirby Smart, But yeah, I feel like in the Big Ten, Cignetti is well loved, Ryan Day is well loved, Whitingham just got there, Kirk Ferentz somehow appears to. I'm pretty sure they're going to sign him another 30-year extension or something like that. I don't think they're aware that other head coaches are available in Iowa. Dan Lanning is loved, maybe Lincoln Riley, but I haven't even heard anything about that. They seem to love him there. Brett Bielema, I mean, and obviously Penn State's got a year one in, oh my gosh, Matt Campbell, that's his name, right? From Iowa State. Yeah. I mean, what do you guys think? I actually think that of the power conferences, the coaching carousel is, in my opinion, the coolest of all of them. Chase,
Yeah.
What do you think? Or go ahead, Chase. Yeah.
Yeah, man, I'm totally in agreement. I mean,
you're
most of
missing
the
the obvious
coaches
one.
from last year either chances is lagging.
Which one am I missing that's obvious?
Luke Fickell.
We're talking about serious teams here, Chance. Yeah.
Well, you're saying who's on
No.
on that coaching hot seat. I mean, he's got to be the
No,
hot
I
seat in the
know. I guess
country.
I thought. Yeah,
Maybe him
I
and
did. I did
Norvell.
overlook that one. He's gone. If he doesn't win 8-9 games this year, I think he's done, which would be a shame because it's a proud program and he's proven himself to be a good coach. But I don't see them making any improvement, and therefore, unfortunately, I think he's going to be back next year in the G5. But Chase, go ahead.
If that, I mean, maybe a coordinator spot.
I mean, yeah, I totally agree that Luke Fickell's definitely the hottest seat in the Big Ten. He should have been gone last year, completely honestly, but he's still here. But if they don't do anything, if they don't improve somewhat, he's probably gone. The only other person I would put on the hot seat is, you named him earlier, Lincoln Riley. If It's completely contingent on, does he step up? Does he get this team to the playoffs? Does he get this team to a Big Ten championship? Does he make his previous promises like happen? Or does he fall short again and disappoint that fan base that is like dying to see success again? They haven't had it in so long, so they need to see it. And this is what, his 4th year here, 5th year. Like, he's been there long enough to have made something happen. And yes, he had a Heisman with Caleb Williams, but that's not enough. That's not enough when you're at a school like USC. Like, I know they haven't had the success recently, but it's been so long since they've had dominant success that they're about to turn into Nebraska, quite honestly. So they need actual success, not just one player, one position success. They need that defense to step up. And if they don't make it happen, if they don't win a game against Ohio State or Oregon or Indiana this year, if they don't steal some of those games, he's probably going to be gone. So
yeah,
You mentioned Nebraska.
USC is very close, in my opinion, to losing their blue blood status in a similar way that Nebraska, that we never thought possible. If you'd have told someone in 1999 that 20 years later Nebraska would be kind of a joke of a program, a dying star isn't even appropriate for them. Nobody even takes them. They are no more threatening than Wisconsin right now to anybody, and haven't been for some time. And it's very unfortunate. But go ahead, Chance.
Well, how do you feel about his seat then, Matt Rule?
At Nebraska?
Yeah.
I mean, maybe, but it's similar. I mean, once Scott Frost left there, it was basically, I mean, it was up for grabs. If you can say that, his seat is hot, but the expectations are not much higher there right now outside of Nebraska.
Well, I mean, you sign the kid who's supposed to be the next Patrick Mahomes, the next big thing, and then he leaves your program to be a backup at Oregon. You gotta at that point be like, all right, you're toast, man. You can't get this kid to go, and he becomes a backup at your school, at a rival school. At that point, you got to fire the dude. I don't know.
Yeah,
I don't
but I
see
mean,
any future.
their success ended the year they joined the Big Ten. It's been 15 years, man. I mean, sure, you can have it, but Scott Frost technically, I guess, was worse at the equivalent point in his career or in his tenure, but it's not like the guy before Scott Frost was good. It's not like the guy who came after Scott. Everybody talks about how bad of a coach Scott Frost was, but it's been literally since they joined the Big Ten. They've been in this boat. And so if I don't know if this year, maybe, because also, I don't know, I was never a huge fan of Dylan Raiola. I thought he was always overhyped, but there's nothing going on. I mean, I think that if they win a bowl game this year, I think that secures a seat for another year. I think that's the threshold where they're at right now, because that's how low the expectations are. Luke Fickell was supposed to be the one to take Wisconsin to the next level, and he's plummeted. So that's why his seat is hot. Wisconsin shouldn't be this
And you
bad.
don't think when they hired Matt Rule from the NFL that was the same case?
But I feel like they are willing to I feel like he has more slack there. That's all I'm saying.
Didn't they just sign him to an extension last season, Matt Rule?
I thought so. I thought his seat was pretty safe.
No, he's good for a year at least. I don't think.
I mean, I'd be shocked. If I was a Nebraska fan, I'd be mad. I mean, you have the history and everything. You have the fan base who's just dying to get better, right? And if you're giving
but what is better?
Rule,
better at Nebraska would look like 7-6, 8-5. I think that would satisfy their fan base this year to keep him for one more year and give him one more shot.
A 7-5 year.
This they are right now, in my opinion, where Wisconsin was last year. Because I said the same thing about Luke Fickell last year. I was like, I'll give him one more year, and then he should be gone. Right now, I'm willing to give Matt Rule one more year, and I think that's the bar of the expectation. Bring them back to competence, and then you can talk about bringing them back to excellence. You disagree?
We'll see, I guess. I mean,
okay.
I think that their fan base is itching more than Wisconsin's is at getting better. And I think this year, I mean, there's no hope in my mind for optimism in Nebraska's football team this year. That's the sad part. Like they're looking pretty bad on paper. Like they're gonna regress. And at least in years past, I had optimism that maybe I can have a good team if I have Nebraska. Maybe I even had some preseason rankings and whatnot. nobody believes in them. And when you get to the point where preseason, you're not even believing in yourself, you're in a really bad position. So, I mean, it's just been going downhill, and that's where I think it's going to cost him his job.
Yeah, I mean, there's that argument too, and I do see that. That if the worst case scenario, 2-10, 3-9, something like that, that kind of disaster, yeah, he should be gone. But if he shows competence, then yeah, I think that he would certainly be safe for another year. But regardless, the Big Ten, we got two names that are coming up right now. That's a pretty, in this day and age, that's a pretty safe conference. I mean, the Big Ten, it's always about not resting on your laurels, but the Big Ten has shown themselves to be the dominant force, and there are a lot of pieces that this conference has in place right now that they all seem pretty comfortable and confident with. So it is looking like there are several teams that could produce national champion caliber programs this year, and we'll talk about the SEC in the next episode. But right now, it seems like it's the Big Ten's world to mess up right now, and it will always cycle. But for right now, good on you, Big Ten, for having some good people in place. Any parting shots on that coaching carousel subject? All right. So moving on from the coaches, let's talk about the players, the ones who are in the arena, the ones who are getting muddy and bloody, tearing up the jerseys, getting in the fights, making it happen, scoring the touchdowns, getting the pick sixes, all of the superstar brilliance that we're going to see. Chance, I've been coming to you first because you've had the wildest takes, in my opinion, so far this episode. Who are a couple of players that you are just itching to see take that next step this year? Who do you think are going to be a couple of superstars in the Big Ten this year?
One of the worst offenses last year in the country was Wisconsin, and they needed to make a big, desperate move. They weren't going to get a big name, so they needed to get a big G5, even FCS name, and they got one in Colton Joseph, who on paper and against lower competition, that guy's a monster. So I'm really interested in seeing if he can take one of the worst, if not the worst offense in the country last year and electrify it. Because, his stats were actually crazy. So it could be a huge flop. And more than likely, he'll probably struggle with the rest of the offense. But hey, you never know. Maybe he picks up a couple wins. Maybe he saves that coaching spot. So he's one of the players I'm going to keep my eye on.
Desperate times, huh?
Desperate times call for desperate measures, man. And again, if you watch the highlights of that guy, he's pretty impressive. Again, albeit against lower competition, but sometimes that equates. We've seen some guys like Cam Newton come out and be electric at that level, right? So you never know. I don't expect a lot from Wisconsin, but he could electrify their offense at least. Some other names. I'm going to go defense on my other one. A guy who's just moving teams in the conference that doesn't get talked about enough because he was on Minnesota last year, and now he's going to potentially make the difference for this team. It's your team, Connor, the Oregon Ducks. We're going to talk about Coy Parrish, who I think is probably the best safety in the country. Oregon has just been missing that playmaker on defense. They've got Dante Moore. They've got firepower on offense. They need a difference maker on defense, and getting Coy Parrish was huge for them. So that could be the propelling guy on that side of the ball to actually make them take that next step. So watch out for Coy Parrish.
All right, Chase, who you got?
All right, I got a couple for you. I can just sprint these through and get them done here. Obviously, with USC, he got Jaden Maiava. The dude is going to be make or break for his team this year. Either he's going to absolutely shine and his team is going to shine, or he's going to crumble under the pressure, and USC might lose their head coach. So lots of things falling on his back this year. But more importantly, or I wouldn't say more importantly, more interestingly, last year, they had two amazing wide receivers last year, and Mekhi Lemon, and I'm forgetting the other guy's name. But they were fantastic receivers. But there was one guy on their team that wasn't getting as much of the spotlight, but against Oregon, he had like 140 yards and a touchdown. In the bowl game against TCU, he made this probably the best catch of the year, arguably. Such an amazing catch to Nuke Hines, wide receiver at USC, dude. That dude has got talent. He's got grit, and I'm expecting him to absolutely blow up this year. So I'm definitely looking to see something out of him this year. Going off to a wide receiver again on a team that not many people are talking about. We haven't mentioned them once, and it's reasonable. The team from New Jersey, Rutgers, KJ Duff, wide receiver from Rutgers. He had 1,084 yards last year and 7 touchdowns. I believe he was second in the Big Ten in receiving yards. The dude is a stat monster. The problem is he's on the Scarlet Knights, so don't see him going to a championship anytime soon, but he's fun to watch. So keep an eye out for him if you're watching Rutgers and hoping they get more than 5 wins this season. And then my last guy, this one should make Chance feel pretty good because it's from the team he believes is going to win the conference or at least put up a fight for it. Jordan Marshall, Michigan running back. Dude nearly had 1,000 yards rushing last year. He had 10 touchdowns, and he was sharing the load with another running back. So that dude's now the running back number 1. He's with that offense with Kyle Whittingham coming in. He's probably going to be shouldering the load a lot this year. So I expect him to get over 1,000 yards as long as he stays healthy. And so he's definitely a big guy to watch this year.
It's crazy. He kicked out Justice Haynes and took over that position. I mean, he's going to be good.
In a year that was basically dominated by quarterbacks last year, Justice Haynes was one of the only non-quarterbacks that was in the conversation, at least until about halfway through the season for the Heisman, and then I think he got injured or something like that. But yeah, to think that that this guy was so successful in spite of being the number 2 to that guy, yeah. And Chance, to give you a little bit of credit, I do see that Whittingham at his best does embody a little bit more of the Michigan ethos as far as primarily being defensive-minded, powerful running game that opens up an explosive passing game, but their identity lives in the trenches. That is where Whittingham likes to live, and that is what Michigan football fans like to see. And so, again, it would be the best case possible scenario, but these things could happen. And if they do coalesce as you are seeing, yeah, powerful running game, killer defense, it could be dangerous. It's just a little too early, in my opinion, to tell. I agree with everybody that you brought up so far. I'm just going to keep it to one player, and you're probably going to be shocked who I say because I endlessly talk crap about this team, but Jeremiah Smith. I know that he's not flying under anybody's radar. He has the opportunity and the skill set to be one of the best wide receivers that has ever played the game of college football. And he fell short of expectations last year, time and time again, in my opinion. I will be the last person you will ever hear saying this, but I have my eyes on him as an individual because he has the chance. He has everything that he needs to go down in history as one of the best to ever do it at this level of play. But he has to be better than he was last year. I know everybody can have a couple weak games or whatever, but multiple times he fell short of what he needed to do. Wide receiver number 1, your job is to be the hero. You don't get to fall short of that and claim to be the one who should be getting all the hype. He's having about the same amount of hype in the mainstream media this year as he did last year. And last year they were basically saying that the Heisman was between Arch and him. It was basically between those two. You've got a solid, if not excellent, quarterback in Julian Sayin. You have a great cast of other people of other wide receivers around you that are going to force defenses to spread themselves thin to cover all of you. You, Jeremiah Smith, have to step up. Otherwise, you will be another really good wide receiver, which there are worse things in the world than being a really good wide receiver at Ohio State. But you have the chance to be a generational talent. And so I hope that we get an actual highlight reel that makes us jump every time we see it, that gives us chills looking back on it years later. But he has to be better this year. Can he? Yes. Will he? We'll see. We will see. So,
well, I hope
awesome. So just really quick, his counterpart, wide receiver 2, was he top 5 in last year's draft?
Was that? Oh my God!
Tate?
Yeah, Carnell Tate.
I mean, so he's splitting reps with the first receiver off the board.
Yeah, I shouldn't have been, but yeah.
Oh well, okay. I can imagine who you think is number 1.
Yeah.
which,
Well,
it's
that
a fair
obviously
argument.
Ryan Williams.
everyone isn't even going to play for the first half of the season, but
Yeah, I mean, just to give him a little grace, and he still had almost 12. What was it? 1,250 yards almost. So I mean, it's not a shabby yard, but I agree with what you're saying. I think he probably is the best wide receiver in college. I mean, sorry, not even a receiver, like the best player. I think he could be, and he could be generational. I think you're right.
yeah, and that's all I'm saying. I'm saying that he has the opportunity to be a 10 out of 10, and so far he's been playing like an 8.8 to a 9.2. He has the chance to be one of the best to ever do it, and that's a hard leap to make. But the nation is watching, and even if you're not a fan, if I'm a fan of good football, I would like to see him do it. And then I want their defense to collapse, and so they still lose the games. But I want to see him do something that people haven't done before. His records are meant to be broken, and I would love to see something like that happen. I think he has the ability to do it. So we'll see. Got your work cut out for you.
0-12, baby. 0-12.
0-12. Yeah, that's what's going to happen. 12-0 to 0-12. That'll put him at 500 on a 2-year span. But all right. Well, Chase, you have been crushing it this preseason with some of these quick hitting interview segments that have been super fun for us to do. So what do you have on the docket for us this week?
All right, Chance. A little bit of a change up from your normal segment here. This time I'm going to give you 5 teams one by one. I'm going to give you the team, and I'm going to ask you, what's the upside on this team, Chance? And then after you say that, I'm going to ask, what's the downside with this team? So, you got any questions for me before we start?
No, I had that question before we started.
Yeah, well, I wanted to get your
It's clear
natural
now.
reaction. So, this is a live reaction from Chance. He had no idea I was going to pull the rug out from under him here. So, it's okay. I'm going to start you off with a pretty easy one here, Chance. The defending national champions, Indiana. What's their upside?
Their upside is their coach, who's a freaking demon spawn from hell. That's the upside.
In a good way.
Whenever you have him on your team, I mean, you're gonna be a good team.
All right. But Chance, what's the downside?
I'm gonna put asterisk potential downside because I still think they have they lost some talent, but they do have some good talent, especially on like the defensive end. I think they still have a lot of people coming back and they'll be solid there. The downside potentially is and we've talked about this, what do we get out of Josh Hoover? I'm on the more optimistic side right now, just because I think there's still a lot of talent to pull out of him. But I mean, one thing that we picked up on the show and a lot of people don't talk about with Josh Hoover is his pocket presence, man. I mean, when he feels the pocket collapsing on him, he freaks out. He does not know what to do. If the pocket doesn't collapse on him, he's electric. He is a great player. I think he was top 5 in passing yards last year. But if that happens, which it's going to happen more on Indiana and in the Big Ten. And so I want to see how he adapts to that, how his coaching goes. I want to see who his receivers are because he lost a little bit of talent there, how his line holds up. If there's any downfall, it's going to be there. The upside is coaching probably and will overcome that and make them a really good team.
All right. I like it. Team number 2, Washington. What's the upside, Chance?
The upside is you potentially have the quarterback that nobody's talking about or we're disrespecting a little bit. I mean, some people are talking about him, but like if he has the upside that he can be Heisman potential. And so if he makes it there, then you have a squad and you could be that sleeper pick that we're not even talking about. We disrespected on this podcast.
All right. What's the downside?
They're Washington. And I'm bearish on this team just because he has that potential, but he also has the potential of being a little bit of a fluke, throwing too many interceptions, having too many things go wrong. They're on the West Coast. They have to travel a lot. There's very little room for error, especially in the Big Ten. And there's too much going against them for that. They have to be squeaky clean. And I don't think that Demon Williams is that quarterback right now. I think he makes as electric as he can be. He makes too many mistakes. I saw that last year. And while some people look at his optimism too much, which he could do, he could surprise us all. The bad is what costs him games. So that can also happen as well.
Okay, cool. Team 3. I talked a lot of shit about this team last year. The Illinois Fighting Illini.
Oh, man.
What's the upside, baby?
The upside is that they consistently, when they are not hyped up like they were last year, they consistently surprise us. They have a coaching staff that knows how to do more with less. They know how to get the most out of their quarterbacks and everything. So don't be surprised if they shock us again this year and they hear our disrespect. The downside is last year was supposed to be their year, man, and they blew it.
Don't get ahead of me, Chance. I didn't ask that part yet.
Oh, sorry.
All right,
Go
Connor,
ahead.
I need your help on this one. I need an emphatic question. Ask it.
Chance, what is the downside to the Illini?
The downside. They blew it last year. They were supposed to be that team. I thought they were going to be that team, and they let me down.
I thought they were going to be that team. What are you talking about?
I did too, I guess. I don't know. I don't remember you, but I definitely remember me wanting them
Y'all
to be
never
that
let me live it down that they weren't supposed to kick that field goal. The only reason that they had a good record last year.
Yeah, so I mean, they lost a lot of talent from that team that was supposed to be that team. So they're gonna have to rebound in a major way. I don't if they weren't able to make it happen last year, I don't see it happening this year.
All right. You're going to like these next two teams, and it's pretty fitting that they're together on this one. But team number 4, Michigan.
Michigan. Wow, I might not be able to say everything about them because I'll get criticized more. That's okay. Their coaching staff is their upside. We've talked about the talent and everything, and Connor cannot believe that I'm saying this, but I truly believe that they have a top 5, if not top 3 defensive coordinator on their staff. I've seen it personally many times. I have followed the dude. I have some inside sources with the dude. He is top-notch talent. And he went to Michigan because he thinks that he could be the future head coach, and he could be right. He's that kind of talent to be a future head coach at the University of Michigan. They've got a great offensive coordinator, so I expect that to elevate the program, get more out of their talent, and maybe make it to the next step.
Okay, but what's the downside?
The downside is, can Bryce Underwood throw a forward pass? Last year, he struggled to do that. And so if they cannot find a way to get him to throw a forward pass this year, then it's going to be a rough year again. They had a similar turning point last year that I think that they will this year. It's that Oklahoma game. If they can prove during that Oklahoma game that, hey, we can run an offense, that we can do the rest of it, I think they're going to look really good. And we're going to find out, is it week 2, their matchup, I think?
Yep.
So we're going to find out real quick if Bryce Underwood can be that number 1 quarterback in the country he was recruited to be.
That's going to be tough for him against a Brent Venables defense, one of the best defenses last year. Bright side is they're at home, so they got a chance there. But it's only fitting. We talked about Michigan. I think you can tell what team I'm coming with next. What is the upside with what's the upside with the Ohio State Buckeyes, Chance?
They return their monster talent, a lot of their monster talent. They lose a lot too. So it's kind of an upside downside kind of thing. They have Julian Sand, who is a good to exceptional quarterback. I mean, he obviously has to be. He was in the Heisman running last year, but he was just surrounded by so much talent that, the question mark is he, what's his name? San Francisco quarterback, Brock Purdy. Is he the Brock Purdy of college football? I guess we'll see. He certainly has the talent. He could be, but they just, when you have Jeremiah Smith, when you have a lot of those guys coming back, you're going to be good. But the downside is as much talent as you brought in and you retained, you lost a lot of talent. Caleb Downs was a beast. You had Maxie Claire. We talked about Carnell Tate. The offensive line, if they can hold up and perform well, because that's always been kind of the question mark on there. So there's a lot of holes to fill, and Ohio State usually finds those holes to fill pretty easily through the recruiting and portal and coaching. But there's always that question of, hey, what if that doesn't happen this year? So
okay, well, and for the last time saying it in this brand new segment, Chance, what is the downside?
I think I skipped you on that one because I said
Stop skipping me, Chance.
sorry.
Chance.
It's the talent that they have to fill that they lost to the NFL.
Okay.
The
Gotcha.
Carnell Tates, the Maxi Claires, the Caleb Downs, those were monstrous pieces. They usually fill those up really quick because they're the Ohio State, but we'll see.
It's also their schedule, but that's enough with that segment.
All right. The old upside down segment. Yeah, let us know in the comments, do you agree or disagree with Chance's takes? We've talked a lot about the different perspectives that we can have, and even just on this show, just the three of us can look at the same situation and be finding totally different things. What do you guys see? What are the strengths of your teams, your perspectives as the fans? That's who is the most important to hear from, is we want to know you, the people who matter, the people who, without the fans, these sports would not happen. Tell us what you think is the biggest strength and the biggest question mark of your team. It's okay to question, whether you think your team is actually going to follow up success and still be excited to see them. I've been an Arizona State fan. All I ever have is question marks about my team. Doesn't mean I'm not excited to watch them play. And please let us know in the comments what you're most excited about seeing from your squad this year. Now, Chase, I am on a roll with this next one, and I am loving the competition. What do you have for me this week on the blind rankings? I'm just going to crack my knuckles in advance.
All right, Connor, don't get too comfortable here. It's not always going to go your way, buddy. But
I'm so worried. I am so worried about this every
let's
time.
blind rank these teams, baby. All right, starting off, first team up, your favorite team, apparently, the Oregon Ducks.
Yeah, I have to play the odds at 1.
You're putting Oregon at 1. Wow.
There's only one other team I would put ahead of. So I guess I'll just eat it if you have this other team on there. So go ahead.
Okay. Second team up, Iowa, the Hawkeyes.
Hey, the Texas Tech of the Big Ten. They are and always will be number 3.
Number 3. All right. Third team up.
Hey, listen, I saw your face right there, Chance. As soon as they get an offense, they'll move up. I said that earlier in this very episode. They get an offense capable of producing 3.5 yards per play instead of 2.2 yards per play, and all of a sudden I'll have them in the top 10 of any poll in the country. But they haven't shown that they can do that.
I'm not saying anything yet.
Okay.
Third team up, Connor. UCLA.
5.
5, dude. Disrespect.
Do I need to go any further than that?
All right. Okay. You got a team at 1, 3, and 5. Where are you putting the Huskies? Where are you putting Washington?
Oh, that's hard. Like Chance was saying, this team has all the potential in the world, but are they gonna? They have some continuity going. 2 and 4 don't feel fair, but do I see them beating Iowa? I don't. I think that their defense is worse than Iowa's, but I think that their offense is better than Iowa's. Man, I'm gonna have to. Unfortunately, I might lose on this one. I'm gonna have to take a gamble on this one. I'm gonna put them at 4 and hope that this last team is a good team.
Okay, are you sure?
And that's a distant. That's like a deep gap between 4 and 5. Just so we're abundantly clear, this is a tight top 4 as it's shaping up. But I really have a feeling you're about to drop like Northwestern or some BS on me right now.
Okay, last team up. Final answer. You sure, Connor?
Yeah. I'm sure, Chase.
Okay. My 5th and final team to put up is USC.
Let's go.
In the number 2 spot. Victory.
Number 2? Man. Well, you almost had me switching it at the last second again. Woo! All right. I am very comfortable with that list. Very comfortable. And for any Iowa or Washington fans that might be offended, I really feel like those 2 spots could be interchangeable. Both of your teams could be phenomenal this year, but you have way too many question marks for me to commit to anything.
Am I smoking, or does Connor not even know what teams he's ranking? Was Washington on the list?
Number 4. Yeah. I put him at number 4. And a very, very close. Okay.
It was in Nebraska? For some reason, I thought it was Nebraska, number 4.
Oh, no, Washington.
Okay.
Were you smoking?
I guess. I mean, I am on drugs. I got a kidney stone right now. So.
He is on drugs, dude.
That is confirmed. This guy knows nothing that he's talking about right now, so take it lightly.
Okay. Well, Chance, we'll call it a night for you. I'll let you go first to close out this one. Man, guys, football is right around the corner. And we've been saying that every single week, but it is genuinely right freaking here. This time next week, from when we're recording right now, we will be done watching football for the day. In exactly 1 week from now, football will have completed football games. So it'll be just straight to the veins. It'll be a beautiful thing to watch all of the week 0 games that nobody cares about. But we're here for it because football will be back on the television, and we're so pumped for it. So let's talk about some of that hype that's going on. Chase, what are some of the games that you are hyped for coming up this season?
All right. I got my top 5 games that I am absolutely hyped for this season. Last season we did 10, and I will completely admit that half of them ended up not being interesting because a lot of them involved Florida State, and that just ruined everything. So don't put stock in those teams, unfortunately. But this year I'm starting out. My number 5 most hype game this season is going to be Texas at Texas A&M in Week 13. Rivalry week, last regular season of game of the week, game of the year, right before could be whether either of these teams make it to the playoffs. So it's going to be huge. It's at Kyle Field, so A&M has a chance. If it was the other way around, statistically speaking, they don't have a chance. So that should be an interesting game. Love to see it. Love to see if these two teams are highly ranked at this point at the end of the season. My number 4. This should be my number 1. Truly, for how I feel about this game. This is my fucking mecca game of the year. Alabama at LSU in Week 10, dude. That is the game I look forward to every year, even though historically for me, it has not been a great thing to watch. I said the same thing last season, but this year it's a Death Valley. It's going to be a night game, more than likely, and I'm looking forward to it. I think we're in a great position. I think we have an amazing team put ahead of us, and I think that Alabama is hemorrhaging quite a bit. So I think that Alabama has a softer schedule, so they might still have a great record by this point, but I think we're in a great position for this game. So number 3, this will be a lot of people's like hype games. This is a great game, and it happened last year too, and it was a great game last season. But Miami at Notre Dame in week 10. Going to be an exciting game. I don't need to explain this game, dude. Historically, it's a rivalry. Yeah. You have the Catholics versus the convicts. It's a game to watch, man. It's an amazing game. You got Heisman candidates. You got potential playoff teams going against each other. Like, this is going to be a hype game, dude. It's going to be great. Number 2, the Red River rivalry. Texas versus Oklahoma in Week 6, dude. That is going to be a great game. That's 2 probably solid defenses. Both teams are going to need this win probably to punch their tickets to the playoffs. There's a potential that the losing team could still make it as long as they're perfect the rest of the year or only lose one other game, but it's gonna heavily contribute to who makes the SEC championship and who makes the playoffs. So that's a huge game. And my number 1 game that I am hyped for the most this season, surprisingly, it surpassed LSU at Alabama, but Texas versus LSU, Week 11. That's gonna be a huge game. It's at Death Valley. It's got to be a night game. It's gonna be huge. Can't wait to see it. That's my list.
All right, very nice. Yeah, I love this segment because we can call out the games that we're excited to see personally and have them still matter to the national conversation. Well done. Chance, how about you?
Chase, I have an LSU game in my top 5, but it's none of the games that you said, which is surprising. It's, my number 5 game is LSU at Ole Miss, because who doesn't like a little bit of shenanigans on the side of a good football game? I mean, I imagine, I don't know how that's going to go, because I'm sure Ole Miss, they're going to be happy for Lane Kiffin and they're going to hate the dude. There's going to be a very mixed reactions for that. So blowout, you never know. They've got a good team. So I'm interested in seeing that. That's my number 5, just because of the storyline behind it. Number 4, and this honestly should be higher. I don't have it higher because on my list, I do have a lot of non-conference games that I'm excited to see, because I think nowadays the implication of non-conference games, it might be even more important than conference games as far as the total landscape. But number 4 is going to be my last conference game, and it's going to be Michigan at Ohio State. There's so much that could go on in this game. It could be, who knows, maybe Michigan is bad and Ohio State is number one team in the country, and we're all rooting for Michigan to beat them. Maybe they're two top 10 teams that, hey, one of these teams is not going to make the playoffs and one is, and it's going to be decided in this game. I think there's so many possibilities, especially this year, that it's going to be heated rivalry. Number 3, I have another Michigan game, Oklahoma and Michigan. And I kind of mentioned it before. This is going to be the first game between the SEC and the Big Ten, and it's kind of going to define the landscape. Is this going to be another Big Ten that year? Is the SEC going to dominate? What's going to happen? And these two teams are very similar where, hey, they've got these quarterbacks that are supposed to be great and take the next step, right? They've got John Mateer, who I have said this the whole freaking season last year, and I still don't know who that quarterback is. Is he a Heisman contender? Is he that good? Is he not? I have no idea. Yeah, I know, right? I don't know. And this Michigan team, again, is it going to be what I said? Hey, this coaching staff's going to elevate them. Their players coming in, or is it going to be the same old Michigan that falls short? We're going to find out in week 3. Number 2, it's going to be the rematch. Ohio State and Texas. Is Texas going to fall flat on their face again? Is Arch Manning going to be overhyped early in the season and they're just not going to have it? We already have, by the way, Texas fans are screaming at Sark because he kind of coordinates the offense that he's doing a bad job. I don't know where they're getting this information from, but they're already complaining about their offense and it hasn't even taken the field yet. So we'll see. Or does Texas finally make it happen? Do they make Ohio State pay? If that happens, does Ohio State tumble and their season go to craps? Do they miss the playoffs? Jason and I talked about it off camera for a little bit. Ohio State might be the best team in the last 3 or 5 years overall. So to have them fall out of the playoffs is going to be kind of Alabama-ish. That could happen. Number 1, I'm a little bit biased on this one. I've got a religious battle. It's going to be Notre Dame at BYU. This is going to be one of the biggest non-conference, because Notre Dame doesn't have a conference, games. I expect at this point in the season, it could be a top 5 matchup. I don't see BYU losing up to that point. I don't see Notre Dame losing to that point. Notre Dame certainly is going to be in the top 5, maybe even higher. BYU could certainly make their way into the top 10 at least. I expect it to be a huge night game where all eyes are on the TV and let's ball out. So those are my top 5 games.
I am absolutely shocked he didn't mention the Holy War, but wow.
They're
Well,
probably,
Holy War
they're
now is
in
between
there, but
Michigan and
I'm
BYU.
intrigued by a lot of these non-conference games because I want to see, especially these SEC Big Ten ones where everybody's like, oh, Big Ten or SEC, let's prove it on field. Let's see it.
Yeah, I love that we're all taking a slightly different approach to this. I too took a slightly different approach. I picked all of my games or almost all of my games that were near the beginning of the year. All but one of my games is in September, because I am looking at this with preseason hype, because similarly to Chance, how you were describing it, I want to see how the field is shaping up. I think that especially after last year when we did a similar segment, we were so fantastically wrong on so many things. And I think there's a couple of matchups that are flying under the radar a little bit. I have 2 LSU games on here. And so these are because of the approach that I took. I'm not saying these in any particular order, but so this is just my first one. Clemson versus LSU. We talked a little bit about Clemson. Both of these teams are coming into this from very different things. You know, it's a new era for LSU in so many ways, and this was a tough, gritty, competitive game between 2 teams last year that both wildly fell short of expectations, and we all thought that this was going to be, you know, the better of two top 5 teams. Neither of them ended up being anything close to that. But Dabo Swinney, we've talked about, his seat is starting to get fairly warm. If he is actually embracing the change, he has an opportunity to prove it, because LSU is nothing but hype right now. Now, do I think it's a very big chance that Clemson goes into the real Death Valley and sticks it to LSU first game of the season in the home opener? No, I don't think it's likely. But there are a lot of question marks around LSU, particularly because of the quarterback. And this is LSU's perfect opportunity to show that they are here to play this year. And so LSU needs to win in a statement dominant win here, and that could powerfully set the tone. And conversely, could you imagine if Clemson even keeps it close? That could speak very highly of that program and show that Dabo Swinney is not quite done yet. Really looking forward to that one. In my opinion, one of the bigger shaping games of the opening week. Second one on my list, one that I feel like even chance you might be overlooking: BYU versus Arizona. Arizona is another team that is on the rise, and I feel like people are really hyping BYU, and I'm definitely not. I'm one of the people that's hyping BYU up. I really firmly believe in this team, but we did talk about that. As much as I hate their guts, U of A is also a team that has the potential to be a wrecking ball. And it's going to be very early on that they have the chance to prove it against each other. And now it definitely is in BYU's favor being in Provo, and Arizona is a team that perennially messes up on the biggest stages, but they have an opportunity there, similarly to the Clemson and LSU game, to each make a statement win and either confirm their hype or show that with the underdog team, show that there is much more to them and people need to take them seriously and start being afraid of them right now. Third on the list, I love the drama that is going to surround this LSU versus Ole Miss game. Man, I unfortunately think that Trinidad Chambliss is the best part of this team, and which is saying an amazing amount, but Ole Miss has every other recipe for disaster going for them right now. And even if Trinidad Chambliss is able to be that good, and if enough of the coaching staff is retained, and if they are able to build off of the continuity and actually be a formidable team, none of those ifs really matter, because this kind of game is what college football is about. Just the storylines alone are incredible. I'm forgetting now that I put on the spot, but I'm like 90% sure that game is at Ole Miss, and I'm pretty sure it's scheduled to be a night game, which is exactly what Lane Kiffin was just whining about last year, that Ole Miss never gets night games for the big games. All right, Ole Miss, show what you can do. I hope that it's going to be an amazing game. It has everything you need to be an incredibly fun matchup to watch, and I am so pumped for it. Number 4, we've touched on this matchup a little bit. Miami versus Notre Dame. This is my only one that happens later in the season. I also think that both teams are going to have a very good record going into it. I hope that Miami just goes in there and absolutely wipes the floor with them. But this is one of those games that, even if Notre Dame does lose to BYU, I think that might only heighten the tension because of all the silliness that Notre Dame has done to literally change the rule book just for them. This year, if Notre Dame ends up losing to BYU earlier in the year, this Miami game could be an elimination from the playoff game for them. And for Miami to go into South Bend and do that on the road, it would be poetry in motion. And I think from what we've seen, at least on paper, preseason, Miami does have the talent to be able to do that. And lastly, going to be a little bit selfish. I only have one game to hypothetically look forward to for the next 3 weeks before we will find out if there's anything worth looking at for this team, but Texas A&M versus ASU. I'm going to be excited for it while I still
You shouldn't be, dude.
I'm kind of looking forward to it as like, yeah, wouldn't it be nice if I was an astronaut one day? One day when I grow up and I can be like the president of the world. That's going to be really cool, right? I want to be a firefighter, policeman, doctor when I grow up. That's how I feel about this game is, hey, how cool is it going to be to watch ASU on the big stage?
Hey, at least there won't be any cowbell. That's all I can say.
There's going to be worse than cowbell, though. To listen to that 12th man and how's the chant go, Chase?
Dude, don't ask me. Ask the Texas A&M shirt down there.
Yeah, show off your shirt.
Yeah, I'm making
your
up
boy's
for it
large
from last
shirt.
year. I think the chant goes Pig Suey. Is that what they say? That's what they say at Texas A&M, right? They say Pig Suey.
No.
Yeah. Oh man, I'm not even throwing shade at Arkansas right now. Arkansas is one of those teams that they think that they're rivals with like everybody, but if you're rivals with everybody, then you should probably be good enough to be a rival with anybody. Anyways, I am going to selfishly put that as my number 5 because I don't know if I'll have a lot to look forward to this season. But if a miracle happens, well, I'm gonna be insane. I'm gonna be insatiable the rest of the year if somehow they pull that off. Like, you will never hear the end of me hyping up, but they haven't even picked a quarterback yet. So I am tempering things quite a bit. So awesome. Lots to be excited about. And guys, we don't have to be excited for much longer. The season is in 6 days from right now, less by the time this gets to you wonderful viewers. Speaking of you wonderful viewers, we are so excited to be engaging with y'all for a second season. This is only the second season that this show has been around. And last year, guys, we were absolutely blown away by, I don't want to say the love, because I wouldn't say the love, but the engagement. We know that we ruffle feathers on this show. It's kind of what we want to do. Kind of our intention is, as many times as we can possibly say it, to give you as the fans the voice. Our goal is to be equal parts informative and entertaining. We want to hear from you. We want to keep you interested. We want to keep you loving the game that you have dedicated so much of your time and energy into, because you are what the game is about. Without the fans, it would just be a bunch of dudes running around on a field. The fans make the game, and your voice deserves to be heard. So we are so excited to do that. Please engage with us, message us, comment on, tell us what we should talk about. Tell us what you think that we're wrong with. We don't care about likes on this show. We care about engagement and the conversation being continued, because other platforms don't. They don't even want to hear from you. They want you to listen to their opinions and then shut your mouth. We want you to open it and let your voice be heard, because you are the sport. So please let us know what you think. Continue to let us know, and we want to know what you guys want to talk about, and we will bring it up, and we will bring you up, and whatever subjects you want to hear talked about, we would love to hear it. So until next time, for Chance and Chase, my name is Connor, and this has been the Concussion Protocol Podcast. We'll see you next time.